Steve Tortorello, promoter of Warrior Wrestling, and you are Drinking with Mo.
All right, everybody, welcome Drinking at Mo's. Your host, Big Mo here. And the next couple of weekends are going to be some pretty big wrestling weekends, especially for the company that I'm talking with, the promoter here today once again. Steve from Warrior Wrestling, how are you doing?
I am doing very well, my friend. Thank you so much for having me. And you're right, we are going to be unbelievably busy for the next 10 days or so.
Oh, yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, you got Warrior 23 up there in, oh, well, there you are.
There we go. Hello. We got the phone up on the dashboard so you can see me. I'm a real person.
Yeah, but Warrior 23 there in Grand Rapids, and then the big Warrior 24 show same day as the Forbidden Door.
Yep. And, yeah, it's going to be a nutty 10 days. And on the personal side, in addition to those couple of shows, we're going out to South Bend for a Billy Joel concert on the 25th. Also, my wife and I just closed on a new condo that we're getting painted and fixing things up. And then you've got regular work on top of that. So it is a nutty day in the nutty time in the Tortorello household and for Warrior Wrestling in general. But, hey, you know, that's what means you're alive, right? We'll sleep when we're dead.
Oh, yeah. No, totally get you there. I mean, things kind of crazy here with things definitely picking up with the show. And now, one thing I don't realize, that I don't know if I told you the last time we talked, that my wife and I are expecting twins.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome. When do you guys due?
Like, November.
We are due November 11th. 11/11/22.
No kidding.
Yeah, we just got one. We're not fancy like you.
Yeah, my wife and I have always said, you know, we'd stick to two. So I'm guessing, well, we're getting them all at once.
2 kids, 1 pregnancy. Can't beat that.
Yep. But anyways, the card for both Warrior shows the next couple of weeks are pretty stacked.
Yeah, we're very excited. You know, this Saturday in Grand Rapids, we return to our signature match, the War of Attrition, the 8-person match for the Warrior Wrestling title. And when we do these matches, we stack it with people from all different promotions, all different styles of wrestling. Obviously, the champ, Will Ospreay, will be defending the title. But we've also got in there Jeff Cobb, Lance Archer, Jake Something, Davey Richards, Brian Pillman, Swerve, the winner of Cage versus KC. So, I mean, it is going to be, it is going to be an all-star match on Saturday. And that card's also got Athena as well, defending her Warrior Wrestling Women's Championship against AQA. We've got a great tag match. We've got a lucha title match. We've got Chelsea Green. I mean, it is just a packed card. Oh,
totally. And one match that I have on my list, I'm doing little homework for the show. I wrote down all the matches, and one that you didn't mention that I'm actually interested in seeing here, Myron Reed and Dante Leon versus Violence is Forever. That one, I mean, Myron Reed and Dante Leon were both at the St. Louis show, and well, they could have, I mean, they put up a good fight, but you know, Lance Archer being Lance Archer.
What does he say? In the end, everybody dies. But yeah, Myron and Dante actually have an intricate story kind of woven together. They were on opposite sides of the triple threat main event in Indianapolis, and they clashed there. And it was actually Myron and Trey Miguel who pinned Dante to end the show that night. And then Dante Leon ended up cutting his teeth and winning a big tag match in South Bend in April. And then in May, Dante and Myron were part of that triple threat against Lance Archer. So they were enemies again, but oftentimes worked together to take down the giant. Well, now they're going to be working together even more when they become a tag team. And Myron names the team on Twitter. He called it Red Eye, as both of them have red paint around their eyes. And they're taking on Violence is Forever, Kevin Koo and Dominic Guarini, who are a really cool, strong style, striking, almost like an FTR type of tag team. And so it's going to be a really cool clash of styles between some high flyers and some strikers. And I think it's going to be a really unique tag team match for us.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, even though it wasn't a losing effort, I was definitely impressed by both Myron Reed and Dante Leon. I mean, the way they started out that match, just both diving, oh man, it was awesome. And I've seen things on Violence is Forever, like individually. So this will be a great match that, I'm actually able to see them both together.
Yeah, they're great. We've had Kevin Koo as a singles at Warrior before, and we had them as a team together against Ace Austin and Madman Fulton a couple of years ago. And they're just a really exciting team to watch. They've had some bangers in Black Label Pro and AIW. They've really made a name for themselves around the Midwest, and we're really happy to have them back and to be able to feature them when we debut in Michigan.
Oh, definitely. And another one, I mean, with it was interesting when Matt Cardona was still going to be on the show before his injury, because you would have had both him and Chelsea Green on the show. Now, just Chelsea Green, and she's going up against Tootie Lynn, who was another person that was there for the Warrior 22 in St. Louis, going up that night against Deonna Purrazzo.
Yeah, Tootie Lynn was really impressive. And honestly, the Chelsea Green match was open until that night. We weren't sure who was going to face Chelsea. And we were so impressed with Tootie in her match against Deonna that we locked it up and said, come on up to Michigan. We'd love to have you. Let's put you in the ring against another big name in Chelsea Green. Tootie is a great, fiery baby face from St. Louis, and she really has a bright future ahead of her. And Chelsea's been with us for a long time. She was with Warrior for a couple of shows before she signed with WWE. And then with her becoming free again, it's just been a matter of finding the right date for her to return. She was supposed to return in December, but a couple of circumstances came up and she wasn't able to. And now we're happy to have her in June. So, yeah, it's a great another way to feature Tootie and another way to welcome Chelsea back.
Oh, yeah. No, that Tootie was definitely impressive at Warrior 22. And I mean, Chelsea Green is Chelsea Green. She's a really great big name out there in women's wrestling. So it's going to be an awesome time for that match. Another one here, Ray Leon versus your Lucha champion, Sam Adonis. That's going to be something else.
Yeah, now Ray Leon is not very well known. From Mexico, works primarily in Southern California. Sam Adonis, both in real life and as champ, he pitched Ray Leon coming to Warrior Wrestling. He said, this guy's one of the best. He deserves a shot at the Warrior Lucha title, and he's unknown, and this guy deserves a chance to make his name known. And so Sam obviously has been with us since the very beginning. He's one of the staples of Warrior Wrestling and one of the staples of Lucha Libre as an American luchador. And this will be a really exciting match. So it will be all of the trappings of Lucha Libre, high flying, quick reversals, whole lot of fun, innovative moves, pitting a brand new guy for us against one of our oldest stars.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I consider myself a fan of, well, pretty much all different styles. I mostly go with like strong style, like Violence is Forever, but I mean, you can't help but love the lucha style with all the high flying and everything. It's just mesmerizing to watch. And I know those guys are going to put on one hell of a match there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, what we try to do with all of our shows is it's like a buffet of wrestling. We want a little bit of everything. There will be a little strong style. There will be a little lucha. There will be a little modern indie. There will be some women's wrestling. There will be some tag wrestling. There will be some high flying. And if you present enough of a varied buffet, everybody gets to eat what they like. and everybody gets to try something they might not be used to, and hopefully find a new thing to like as well. And this is a particular flavor of wrestling that we love as the Warrior team, and we're hoping that other people will as well.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a, like I said, big fan of the lucha style, having been, when I got introduced to independent wrestling in San Diego. I mean, big area for lucha right there. And I mean, just great entertaining matches. Next one, I'm like, I'm wondering how this one is going to go based off of how the results of the main event of Warrior 22 with the Brian Cage and Casey Navarro. Casey Navarro costing Brian Cage the match that night.
He sure did. And this has been brewing for about a year in Warrior Wrestling. So Brian Cage were real life good buddies. Casey was a mentee of Brian. And last August, Brian developed the GMSI, the Get My Shot Invitational, where we had a 6-man scramble, and Brian got to choose the other 5 competitors, and the winner got a contender's medallion that they can cash in at any time for a shot at the Warrior Wrestling title, kind of like Money in the Bank. And so Brian chose KC as one of these competitors. KC won the scramble. He got the medallion, and Brian put it around his neck, shook his hand, held his hand in the air, and said, "This guy is the future." After that, Casey went on a losing streak, lost after loss after loss, and he couldn't shake it. And then he and Brian started teaming together, and they ended up miscommunicating, costing each other matches and costing the team matches. And in South Bend in April, Casey was going to cash in against Ospreay, but Brian stopped it after Casey had thrown a tantrum earlier in the night, and they got into it with each other. And so then in St. Louis, like you said, in the main event, when Brian was a surprise to fight Davey Richards, Casey was doing commentary. He came off the commentary booth, hit Brian in the head with that very same medallion that Brian developed from the match last year, and it led to costing Brian the match. So now this year of build culminates in West Michigan, in Grand Rapids, when Casey Navarro and Brian Cage go one-on-one the first time in Warrior Wrestling in this grudge match. So really, for those people who have been following Warrior all along, this has been a year in the making.
Oh yeah, it's going to be something else. And I mean, I've only got a in-person witness the blow-off from Warrior 22, which thank you again for having me down there. But
of course,
man, like I know, I have this weird feeling that if that isn't going to be the only involvement you're going to see from either one of them. Like I can see if Brian Cage wins and goes on to that War of Attrition match, I could see Casey Navarro kind of getting involved. And flip it around if Casey Navarro wins. I don't see that being like the end all of it.
Yeah, we'll see if it all comes to a head or if their rivalry continues past that match. I mean, I can announce that because the winner of that match is going on to the main event to take Cardona's spot, that the show will open with Casey versus Cage. So we will know after the first match who wins or what is happening next in this rivalry. But the show's going to open with that match on Saturday, and we'll see where it goes from there and who makes the main event.
Hey, one hell of a way to kick off the show, I gotta say. All right, next one here, we kind of talked about it a little bit. Athena versus AQA. Athena, your women's champion, and AQA kind of making a big name for herself. Yeah,
and so you were there in St. Louis. You saw Athena's connection to the crowd, right? All these little kids you didn't even know were there for the rest of the show. They were screaming their heads off when it was time for Athena. And she truly is a hero for a lot of our audience. And so she had her first defense in St. Louis against Janai Kai. Now here's defense number 2 against AQA. AQA, another All Elite Wrestling women's wrestler with a patented shooting star press. I don't know another woman that does a shooting star, and AQA is better than almost any guy I've ever seen do it. And so she's got a maneuver that puts away anybody she hits with it, and she is an up-and-coming athlete. She is quick, she's young, she's strong, and I think Athena is going to have her hands full. We also know as well that Frank the Clown is lurking. Frank has said he will be throwing Athena a going away party this Saturday night because he says she's going to be done after Saturday. So we'll see what that means.
Yeah. I remember seeing on Twitter somebody saying that Athena should have kicked him in the balls at like FanFest. And I'm like, man, as soon as my table at the FanFest was right near his. And I'm like, man, once he heard Athena coming in there, he ran.
Yeah, that's another one of those rivalries that's been brewing since South Bend, where she punt kicked him and broke his right arm as he was trying to get involved while he was managing Shazza McKenzie. And so then he hired Janai Kai for the night, and Janai couldn't get the job done and break her arm. So it'll be interesting to see. We don't know anything officially, but Frank says he's going to run Athena out of Warrior Wrestling, and she's facing AQA on Saturday. So it'll be interesting to see if AQA has joined the fold of Frank's circus for the weekend.
Oh God, I hope not. That annoying shit. Oh man, but hey, I'll give it to Frank the Clown. The job of a heel is to make the crowd hate you, to make you want to cheer on the face and just absolutely hate you. And hey, Frank the Clown, if I give him nothing else, he is doing that.
He is naturally hateable.
That is true. Oh man, I remember his tweet about being at a Machine Gun Kelly concert. I'm like, I specifically remember tweeting back at him. I'm like, oh, I guess it takes a clown to like a clown.
The truth.
All right, we brought up the main event, which is going to be that War of Attrition match, and you have stacked stuff here. Lance Archer, Brian Pillman Jr., Will Ospreay, Jeff Cobb, Swerve, Richards, Jake Something, and whoever's going to be the winner of that Brian Cage Casey Navarro match. Now, it's definitely an interesting concept, this War of Attrition match. I know, and correct me if I'm wrong here, it's 2 teams of 4, and they're randomly determined, right?
Yep.
And then the winner of that splits up into 2 tag teams, and then eventually leading to one of those teams winning, and they go and winner.
Yep. So it whittles itself down little by little until only one man is left, and he is the Warrior Wrestling Champion.
That is like, I remember when I first heard about this match, it was, I think before I started the podcast, that I'm like, dang, and then I started watching little bits and I could find it. I'm like, damn, this is nice. Like, definitely an interesting concept that you don't see out there too much.
Yeah, we cooked it up ahead of our second show in 2018, and it worked really well. That's how we crowned our first champion. Brian Cage won that match, and now he has a chance to possibly go back to that match again for the second time. And it's really exciting. You get lots of different combinations of wrestlers. There's a lot of intrigue as to who's going to advance. And then the guy who scores the fall in the first fall gets to pick his partner for the second fall. And so there's a strategy there. Do you pick the toughest partner possible so that you can win that second fall, but then you got to face them if you win the second fall? Or do you pick possibly a weaker partner for the second fall, hoping that you'll have an easier time in the third fall? It's a really interesting setup that leads to interesting alliances, right? Jeff Cobb and Will Ospreay are team members together in the United Empire. Will they end up opposite each other in the ring at some point? You don't know. So it's, it creates a lot of intrigue and a lot of different possibilities, and it's really exciting, and it's worked well every time we've done it. So we're happy to bring it back.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely intrigued. I don't know if I've mentioned this yet, but I have bought the this weekend show. I didn't see the Chicago one up on Fight yet, but when it is, I'm definitely getting that. But this one with the War of Attrition match, it's kind of interesting because I know before Ospreay had to pull out of the St. Louis show, there was a big story with him and Richards, and it's like, if they end up like on the same team, that's going to be an interesting dynamic. Are they even going to be able to get along?
Exactly, because the whole story Will told in South Bend in leading up to what was supposed to be the Richards match in St. Louis was the story of how 8 years ago they were a tag team together in England, the only time he's ever been around Davey Richards. And Will was hurt pretty bad in that match, and Davey never came to check on him in the locker room after the show. And Will, as a young wrestler, felt very abandoned by that. And so 8 years later, he harbored this anger at Davey Richards, that he wanted to beat Davey Richards and show him that he had superseded him as the best wrestler in the world. And they didn't get the chance to have that match in St. Louis. So now what interaction will they have with one another in this big match on Saturday? Will and Lance Archer have had classic matches in the G1. What happens if Will and Lance interact? Will and Jeff, like we said a moment ago, they're both members of the United Empire. Will and Cage connected for the first time ever in January at Warrior 18 and had a stellar classic match. Brian Pillman, a former Warrior Wrestling champion, he called out Will during our show in Indianapolis. Swerve and Ospreay have come up together, and Swerve views Ospreay as truly the greatest of all time. And so what would it be like if those two interact? Jake Something, the local Michigan wrestler who's been on Impact, he's been on AEW. Is this his moment? Is this his moment to shine and stand out in a field with all of these more known names and make his name a household name? So each of these guys has something at play here, and it's going to be a really interesting competition of who faces who and who aligns.
Oh, yeah. No, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that one turns out. Because, like I mentioned with Ospreay and Richards, it's like, are they going to be able to get along, or are they going to be able to kind of put those differences aside for a little bit to get themselves into that final two so they can finally have that one-on-one?
Exactly.
So I guess those people that end up watching this episode, you'll just have to tune into Fight TV this Saturday to figure that out.
Yes, sir.
All right. Next, we'll go ahead and start talking about next weekend, Warrior 24. Earlier, same day as Forbidden Door, but earlier on in the day, and also right across the street from Forbidden Door. So, hey, if you're in Chicago, you can end up going to both.
Exactly. And that's what we're really shooting for here is those great wrestling fans who are coming to Chicago for Forbidden Door. If you love wrestling, we'll spend our cheapest ticket on that show is $25 for GA. So it's the cheapest ticket we've ever offered because we want as many out-of-town fans as possible to come in and check out Warrior Wrestling, literally across the parking lot from the United Center at Malcolm X Community College. And it's a completely different card than what we're seeing in Grand Rapids this weekend. So different stars. We have the reuniting of the Rascals, Trey Miguel, Zachary Wentz, and Myron Reed taking on Fuego del Sol, Blake Christian, and Nick Wayne. We've got a shoot-style, strong-style match between Tom Lawler and Davey Richards. Will Davey be Warrior Wrestling champion at that time? We've got Casey Navarro taking on Speedball Mike Bailey. Will KC be champion at that time? That's a rematch from their show stealer in Indianapolis. We've got Beastman returning against Mike Bennett. We've got the next installment of the New Japan Showcase with Kevin Knight and the DKC. We've got a six-man Lucha Scramble, Gringo Loco, ASF, Golden Dragon, Dragon Bane, Alpha Wolf, Ninja Mac returns. And that match is going to be absolutely insane. So we've got a really, really cool show lined up. Chris Hero's going to be on the show. Denise Salcedo's going to be there. Kevin Kelly from New Japan and Ring of Honor, and before that, WWE. So really, if you're a fan of New Japan, you want to come out and meet Kevin Kelly. You want to meet Chris Hero, and you want to see some awesome, awesome action. And that's what we're packing in to Sunday the 26th, right before Forbidden Door.
Oh, yes. And I mean, you bring up Denise Salcedo there. She's somebody that I look up to in the podcasting YouTuber world. I mean, I kind of joked with Alex Colon last night that it's like, well, I'm not on her level yet, but maybe one day I sure hope to be. I'd love to do some of the stuff that she's been getting to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we think she's going to be such a great guest for us. And we've seen just great traction since announcing her at FanFest, because there's a lot of people who respect what she does or want to learn from what she does. And I think she's going to be a really interesting person to have around for that show.
Oh, yeah. No, it's going to be great. And talking about some of the action there, maybe we'll just start off talking about that Lucha Scramble. You're having let me see here, Ninja. You're having is it just one person returning from the St. Louis show, the Alpha Wolf?
Two, Alpha Wolf and Dragonbane, who had that incredible match against each other. They're now part of it with 4 other guys.
Okay, that one was skipping my mind for some reason. Dragonbane and Alpha Wolf there returning, and like you said, had an amazing match at Warrior 22. Probably, you could definitely say that was a show stealer of a match.
I think it was, yeah.
And then, I mean, you put in some of the other guys that are going to be in this match. Ninja Mac, who's been doing great things with GCW over there in Pro Wrestling Noah. Gringo Loco, same with GCW and all over the place. ASF, Golden Dragon, who I've been in talks with about being on the show, so crossing my fingers there, because I've heard and seen nothing but good things about him.
Yeah.
So the thing I like about scrambles is, that especially when you bring in like lucha scrambles, is one-on-one matches entertaining enough, but then you have all those people in there at once. Whoo, boy, it's going to be a show.
Yeah, and that's what we're excited for. If you haven't checked it out yet, Mo, you got to go see on YouTube. We just put up the Lucha War of Attrition we did a year ago, in June of 21. It'll blow your mind. When we're done talking in a few minutes, you got to go check that out ASAP.
Oh, no, definitely will. Definitely will be checking that out tonight. Next one, I've actually... Casey Navarro versus Speedball Mike Bailey. We'll go with that one. I'm kind of hoping, because I know believe Impact, when Speedball Mike Bailey there, he has a different entrance song than when he's on like GCW or some other shows. Because I remember every time I see Speedball Mike Bailey on a GCW show, and that Brass Monkey, like that song hits, It's instantly in my head for the rest of the night.
That's what I think he's going for. Yeah, he uses the Beastie Boys Brass Monkey, and it's just such a fun, weird, and quirky entrance theme, and I think that perfectly defines Mike Bailey. He's fun, and he's weird, and he's quirky, but at the end of the day, when the bell rings, he can go. This guy's a master martial artist, a great professional wrestler, and when he and Casey faced off in St. Louis, this comes back to the Casey and Cage story we talked about earlier. Casey asked Cage for advice, and Cage gave him some advice on how to beat Mike Bailey, and Bailey ended up breaking out a move that Cage had never seen before and winning the match. So Casey partially blames Cage for not being able to beat Mike Bailey. But they had an absolute, you mentioned the word show stealer a moment ago in St. Louis with the Luchas in Indianapolis. The show stealer was Casey and Mike Bailey. And so now we're going to run that back in Chicago. And I think, Casey is obviously looking to get his revenge against Bailey, and Bailey's looking to make it 2 in a row.
Oh, yeah. No, that one's going to be that's already a match I'm pretty excited about. Next off, I have to admit, I'm not too familiar with Beastman, but from everything I've been hearing, it's like him versus Mike Bennett going to be a hell of a match. Mike Bennett's a absolute favorite of mine. I know in one of my recent videos, I talked about how people say, like, I'm a Paul Heyman guy. I said, well, I'm a Mike Bennett guy.
Yeah, we love Mike. Mike is not only a phenomenal performer, but just a great human. And we love being around Mike. We love giving Mike a platform. As you mentioned, you don't know Beastman too well. Anybody who's been a Warrior fan the last couple summers does. He has been sealing the show at our Outdoor Stadium Series shows for 2 years now. He is just a unique individual, a monster mountain of a man. And I think this is going to be a fun and surprisingly amazing match. So people get ready.
Oh, yeah, no. And, after I go and watch that other match you recommended I go watch, I'm definitely going to go look Beastman up, because, everything that I've been hearing, especially just now with you, it's like, he's a guy I need to put my eye on here.
And we've got a lot of Beastman matches up on our YouTube page. So you can see Beastman versus Rhino. You can see Beastman in the Scramble. You can see Beastman versus Congo Kong. He is just an absolute. There's a great tag match. Beastman and Warhorse against KLB and Dan the Dad. Beastman versus Warhorse from Stadium Series last year. He has just been an absolute star for us. And so definitely do your homework. Check out some Beastman.
Oh, definitely will be. Next off, why don't we go with this? The reuniting of the Rascals versus Nick Wayne, Blake Christian, and Fuego del Sol. Now, with the members of the Rascals being in different companies, they had their time apart. Now you guys are getting them back together. And we all know that when they're together, they definitely put on a hell of a show.
Yep, they have been a staple. So the first Rascals match at Warrior was a four-way against Brian Cage in spring of 2019. And then they faced Will Ospreay, Rocky Romero, and Amazing Red. And then they faced a couple of the Strong Hearts. And then they faced a couple of different combinations of three-man teams. And for 2019 and 2020, the Rascals six-man tags were the regular feature at Warrior Wrestling. In fact, in 19 and 20, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Rascals six-man tags, and then a triple threat between the three Rascals themselves. So really, I think that's six shows out of maybe 8 shows in that span where the Rascals stole the show and were the defining experience of watching a Warrior show. And so to have them back together, now granted, Wes Lee or Desmond Xavier is not there as well. Myron Reed from the fourth Rascal is sliding into that spot. But having Zach and Trey reunited is something really special. In fact, I will give you some more homework here, Mo. When Trey won the title in fall of 2020, Zach was on that show. And Zach had wrestled Blake Christian earlier in the night. And Zach didn't know Trey was going to win the title. And when Trey won the title that night, I was standing on the stage, and Zach ran down from the bleachers, ran up to me, and he just said, "Steve, can I go out there?" I said, "Get out there." And he sprinted to the center of the football field, slid in the ring, and tackled his best friend Trey. And they were crying together while Trey hugged that belt. And there are photos of that floating around online. It is my personally favorite moment from everything that we've done in Warrior, because two great human beings were there to celebrate that one of them, Trey Miguel, had won his first singles championship. And so Trey and Zach have not been on a team since that night. And it's really, really important for us that they reunite at Warrior Wrestling. And that's what's going to happen on June 26th. So longtime Warrior fans, new fans, you're going to see something really special in that main event, or in that big match. We don't know if it's the main event yet, because we got to see if one of the other guys ends up with the Warrior title. But in that match, you're going to see something really special.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, you got the guys that they're going up against are doing some big things themselves. Nick Wayne, Blake Christian, Fuego del Sol. They had a little bit of a swerve there on Dynamite last night. Everybody thought it was him, but it ended up not being him.
Yeah. Fuego is infamous for his friendship with Sammy Guevara, who's a big baddie right now. But Fuego is also an amazing wrestler. He was on Warrior 17 in December in Tinley Park, Illinois, and had an absolute banger with Carlos Romo. And Fuego is just truly a special talent, as is Blake Christian, who had a 4.5-star Dave Meltzer-rated match with Will Ospreay in April in South Bend for us. And as, of course, is Nick Wayne, who's a phenomenon coming up on the West Coast for Defy and GCW. So really, it's going to be a fantastic match. 6 of the most talented guys in the world in the ring together. I don't think you're going to be able to top it.
Oh, yeah, no. Nick Wayne got at such a young age already accomplishing a ton out there.
Absolutely. And hey, Mo, real quick, I want to give you a 2-minute warning, just so you know. For our viewers didn't hear this before we came on the air, but I'm actually on my way to meet the Warrior Wrestling champion Will Ospreay for dinner at a backyard barbecue, and I'm going to be pulling in about 2 minutes, so I can't keep the champ waiting for too long. So just so everybody knows, we do have to wrap up in a moment.
All right, no problem. We'll get right on to Kevin Knight and the DKC there. That one should be pretty good.
Yes, sir. It continues the New Japan Dojo Showcase. And the last 2 matches, Frederick versus Connors and Coughlin versus Uemura, have been incredible for us. And Kevin Knight and DKC have a lot to live up to, and they're not coming to disappoint. So that should be pretty exciting.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine. I mean, those New Japan Dojo showcases have been amazing. I mean, I got to be there in person for that Coughlin versus Uemura match. And, whew, boy, man, that spot that Coughlin did with having the headlock and bringing him up for a suplex and standing. Oh, man, if anybody watching this has not seen that match, for that moment and more, go watch it.
Yeah, he literally did a Turkish getup with a human being held above his head.
It was something else.
Unreal.
My jaw was on the floor.
Yeah, same.
Next, we don't want to forget Janai Kai coming back to Warrior versus Holiday, and it's for the Mission Pro Championship.
Yep. That one's actually going to be in the
during the Fan Fest. I think they were doing something for that there. You're kind of cutting
correct.
out.
I think I might be. Yeah, Fan Fest.
Oh yes, that I do remember reading that, and I mean, Janai Kai had a hell of a match against Athena, and now going up against Holiday, who's a big name in women's wrestling in her own.
Yeah, we're really excited for. Oh, Mo, can you hear me? Am I frozen?
A little bit. I can still hear you, though.
Okay. Yeah, we're excited for that match in the Fan Fest. We also have Miranda Alizé competing on our main card. With the match we'll announce hopefully in the next couple of days. And there will be a few more women's matches as part of the Women's Wrestling Army Showcase during our Fan Fest. So we're really excited to have some great female talents on the show.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a hell of a show. Y'all put on a consistently great show. I hope as many people as they can are able to watch both 23 and 24. And I mean, even if you're not in Chicago, Warrior 24 is just earlier on in the day. You can get both shows and just make a whole day of it.
Absolutely. So whether you're watching on Fight TV from anywhere around the world, or for those coming to Chicago, we'd love to have you join us for Warrior 24 and 23, as you mentioned. All the information is at warriorwrestling.net. People can follow us on our socials at Warrior Wrestling. And we're really excited to have folks join us for the shows.
Oh, yes. Links will be in the description for the YouTube version. I know you got to get going here. We don't want to keep the champ waiting too long. So I want to thank you again for taking the time to talk to me and hyping up these two amazing shows that you're having these next 2 weekends here.
Mo, thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. It was great to see you in St. Louis, and I'm sure I'll see you again soon. Until then, though, be well, enjoy the shows, and everybody watching and listening, give us a chance. I'm sure Warrior Wrestling will make you proud.
I have no doubt of that myself.
Awesome. Thanks, Mo. I'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Talk to you soon.